So it's great to have a beautiful open porch like this and to keep the shrubbery low and to be able to say hello to your neighbors. We've still got the little fences to keep the dogs at bay, of course, but this is a great way to sit in the afternoon and say hi or come out and have your morning coffee. A lot of the Fan District houses have wonderful front yard porches.
Well, you know, speaking of morning coffee, I noticed there's a garden around the side that is kind of a morning place. Looks like a great place to go sit and have some coffee. Can we go around there?
I think we should take a look. Here we are on the west side of the house now. And as with a lot of urban gardens, we have to think about when we're using the space, how can it do double duty? How can we use it for more than one thing? So you'll see in this garden we have a brick terrace because it's used a lot of times for dining and cooking out. A lot of the plant material you'll see around is also used in the cooking. A lot of the plant material was here originally and is many, many years old and contributes to the screening of the area.
Oh, and a lot of character. This old tulip poplar, really interesting old plants.
And it gives you some coverage and some privacy, which is really important in an urban area. In this garden, we're right on the city street, and because it was meant to be used for dining, we went ahead and put a 6-foot board fence in. But to soften it, of course, we wanted to use some greenery, some plant material. So we have hanging baskets on the fence and azaleas for spring color in this area, some George Tabors. You'll notice a lot of color in the garden.
A lot of color.
Container gardening is a great way to inject color into a small space. And if you want to think about a cool green garden, you can also inject color by the use of your furnishings. Here we have a lot of colored furniture, and that works really well with being able to change it on a moment's notice for different color schemes during the season.
Great idea. And with the containers, again, you get that seasonal variety without a lot of trouble, actually.
The other good thing about container gardening, when you have large trees, you have huge old root systems. And so a lot of times the plant material you put in the ground around them doesn't really thrive. But you can put fresh new soil in and get really good seasonal color by using containers.
Now behind us you were showing me some Daphne, which is beautiful Daphne. Talk about how long has that been there?
Well, we put that Daphne odora in 1997, and it is probably the largest plants that I know of. It's done very well here. It's protected. One of the things you'll know about the urban gardens is it's a modified microclimate a lot of times. So you can step up a zone, you can grow zone 8 plants with ease because the summers are very warm and the winters are too. The pavement of the city streets and the houses keep the environment warmer than it would, say, in Henrico or Goochland.
Okay. Now, you were showing me their vegetable garden, which I think is really unique for this kind of area.
Well, just because you live in the city doesn't mean that you have to give up your vegetable garden. And what they've done here is there was an unused space on the south side of the garage. Great sun, great exposure, and roof runoff for water. So they have included their tomatoes and their basil in large containers and planted them along the edge of the property over there in a space that's only about 3 or 4 feet wide. So it's part of the kitchen garden.
That's a neat area. And I guess the last thing I noticed here is the off-street parking, and that's really important feature, and you've landscaped it as well.
It is, and a lot of times the parking areas are the most open area of any property. And so we've used that to advantage for growing Mediterranean herbs and plants that really like full sun in the afternoon and hot, dry conditions.
Well, Karen, I know on the eastern side of the house there is a really pretty garden. Looks like a nice place to sit in the afternoon and have cocktails. Can we go around there?
Let's mosey on over there. Here we are on the east side of the house in a garden with a very different flavor. Not as many people use this space at one time, and we had to create privacy here as much as on the other side. But on this garden we had enough space to do it with hedging. So we've used the Gulf-Tide osmanthus as the background plant here, with additional evergreens such as the different camellia varieties and the little gem dwarf magnolia and some hollies. It's really important in a small garden in the city to control your own screening because you never can tell what your neighbors are going to do. So if you have a good view that you can use, well, that's great, but if you don't, then you need to start working with your screening and create the intimate space that you want.
And you know, I noticed some of the hardscapes that you've got in here. I like the gate behind us and how you've tied that in with the color of the furniture as well.
Right. Again, color in the garden doesn't have to be just flower color, which usually is kind of temporary. You can do it with your containers, you can do it with your furnishings, and you can do it with sculptural pieces that you might want to collect.
Great sound coming from over here.
This small garden is really peaceful in the afternoon when you hear the sound of the water and you can play with the fish and feed them and all. So it's a very nice feature for a small garden to have running water and the sound of running water in the city.